I've been sitting back, keeping my mouth shut all this time about all the stuff that went on.
The tracks, the history, the people. This is Zach at the Track.
So there's a really good likelihood, but if you're watching my channel right now, you've probably heard the name Junior Johnson. Dude was an absolute legend. We all know his story from being a moonshine runner turned big league stock car driver, which ultimately parlayed into a very successful tenure as a NASCAR team owner in the 70s, 80s, on into the 90s. And so many stories have been told about this guy. We all know the prolific names that he hired. We're talking about guys like Darrell Waltrip, incredible personality there. Other people like Tim Brewer, Jeff Hammond, Neil Bonnet, Terry Labonte, Bill Elliott. They all came and went through those shops up in Ingle Hollow, North Carolina. But there was one guy who actually never really came and went. He was there the entire time, and he's never told his story until now. His name is Mike Hill, and he was there at Junior Johnson & Associates for nearly 20 years, ended up becoming the crew chief in the later years, and was ultimately really Junior's right-hand man throughout it all. He was Junior's chauffeur at the racetrack, and man, this guy has some incredible stories to tell, many of which have never been told before. I mean, we're talking about some amazing things like the perspective of Bill Elliott's team at the 1992 NASCAR Championship. Really, they were cost that championship by their own sponsor. And he was the crew chief on Jimmy Spencer's McDonald's car. You know, all that cheating story back in the 1994 season. He's gonna tell us exactly what they did. Plus, he's got many other stories from Dale Earnhardt nearly coming to Junior Johnson's. He was directly involved in the 1973 championship with Benny Parsons. You know, that was a very prolific championship. Benny Parsons almost lost that championship because of a wreck. He was also an 18-year-old crew chief on the NASCAR circuit for one of the independent drivers. He's gonna tell us all about that. The coolest part about it all is Mike actually lives on the Ingle Hollow property where the race shops were, where the Johnson family property was. He's gonna show me where they lived. He'll just show me all of that and finally tell his story for the first time. So let's dive on into some of these secret stories about Junior Johnson and Mike Hill. Yeah, I mean, I guess just start from the beginning of racing. How'd you get into it?
I was born into racing. My father was racing whenever grew up in Spartanburg. I was born in Cowpens, on Main Street in Cowpens, Dr. Crow. It was just, I can remember going all the way back to when I was really young. My dad was taking me to Greenville Pickens and Columbia, and we was racing Dad's cars. And we'd get to Greenville Pickens, and Dad would always throw a tire off beside where he was going to park at for Ralph Earnhardt. And Ralph would show up with Dale Earnhardt, and he and I would go off and play in that little creek that run through the middle of the racetrack together. And till the first car started up to go out on the racetrack, and then we had to come up behind the cars, and the police officers would come through making sure there's no kids or women in the pits at that time. So Dale and I had to get in a stack of tires that Daddy had back there, and Daddy would throw a creeper on top of the tires, and we would hide from the police officers. And as soon as the police officers cleared us, a knock would come on top of the creeper, and we would come flying up out of there. But we couldn't go back to the creek and play anymore. We had to stay there behind our daddy's race cars.
Right.
And it was the coolest thing ever. I'm telling you, watching Ralph Earnhardt, Dale Earnhardt's dad, kick back, he was laid back on the hood of his car with his feet crossed. And everybody else would be out there ironing the track in and all this stuff, but he would never get in his car until the last car come off of the track. And then you could hear the whole stands, they would all start yelling for Ralph to come out. And it still makes the hair stand up on my arm today, because I remember this. As soon as his feet uncrossed, this leg would uncross from the other one, those fans would go crazy.
Yeah.
And they knew they were going to get to see a show.
Right.
Ralph Earnhardt was a master on dirt. And he would come down, and he would throw that car. He would be the only car out there putting on the show. And he would come by the flag stand, and he would throw it sideways and broadside. And the Blackwells would have their fence whitewashed, and he would just paint that fence with that red mud all the way around, like he'd taken a paint gun and spraying it. But after the race, it was either me or Dale that was going to carry the trophy into the 101 truck stop after the races. And it was good times. But anyway, I was eat up with the racing starting then. That was the late 50s, early 60s, went through all through high school, hanging out with out at Crawford Clements with the Rennie Wilbanks, and Crawford Clements would let me come out there and help them for nothing, basically. And Crawford took me to Daytona before I graduated from high school. Come back to Spartanburg, and I was hanging out there at Crawford's again. I was free labor. I just, couldn't get enough of it. And Will Cronkite hired me. And as quick as Will hired me to help him, Cecil Gordon come down from Horseshoe, North Carolina, and really is Mills River, and hired both of us. So we go to work. I go to work for Cecil Gordon. I had to leave home. My dad and my little brother, I had to go in, sit down with them at the table and tell them that I'm going to go and do this for all these cup tracks for a year.
So how old were you? This was the NASCAR Cup Series, right?
18.
And you were a mechanic on the Cup Series.
Yep.
That it was a yellow 24, right?
Yellow 24 it was a 1970 Monte Carlo, and it ended up being a 72 Monte Carlo because basically we could change year models with that body style. We were just changing the grill, and we was going to cover it up with wire anyway. But yeah, it was a 24 car. I went to work with Cecil Gordon. I was living in Hendersonville, renting a house up on a hill from a guy named Worley for $125 a month. So this was Junior's. All of this was Junior's land here.
Okay.
The only shops for race shops were the ones behind the house.
So kind of way back in there.
Yeah, yep. You can see back in there. Those rusted metal roofs up there was Junior's chicken business. Yep. Because you always hear about the chicken farmer.
Right.
That was the chicken farmer from Rhonda, Junior Johnson's Chicken Houses. So he had these race shops that was directly behind the house.
Where was Junior's house? Was this Junior's house right here?
You can see it. I don't know if you can see it. You see that big magnolia tree?
Okay.
We'll look at it closer here in a minute when we go down there. But that house sits right there. You could really see it before the leaves come back out. So there was just a little crinkly little old bridge that had come across there. No big walkway. When Warner bought into Junior Johnson to build a race shop for Neil Bonnet so they could have the double thunder deal, Warner come in and built all this land up. Right. He's taken dirt off of that bank over there.
Over here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And brought it across and built all this up so he could build these shops, except for that one big shop right there. Now that one, right, the one big one that stands out right there was built for the McDonald's team to come back here in the hollow. So I was down the road 7 miles with the McDonald's team because I couldn't be in these shops with my race car because Budweiser was in there.
So why was there a second shop?
The second shop that was built down 421 there was identical to these shops. Junior built it because Budweiser was already in these shops, and McDonald's did not want to be in there with a beer car. McDonald's image was that they did not want family image. They didn't want to be in the same shop looking at their cars with a Budweiser car in the background. So Junior built another shop down the road exactly like these, and people are constantly getting them mixed up, thinking, oh, that was this shop. And the history is he built those shops for the McDonald's car to be there in 93. And so we worked out those shops down there in 93. They built the big shop here for the McDonald's car to come back here in 94. And that's the shop that we won Daytona and Talladega with Jimmy Spencer.
So Jimmy Spencer's car would have come out of that building right there.
That's it. Probably 4 months into working for Cecil, Will gets offered a job to go to work for Dyegard, and so he goes in and tells Cecil that he's leaving. So it was just the three of us. It's Cecil, Will, and me.
Will Cronkite, right?
Will Cronkite.
Yep.
The job was only offered to Will, so I stayed with Cecil. Cecil comes out, he says, well, Will's leaving, And I reckon since you're the only one left here, you're going to be my crew chief.
And you're 18, right?
18, yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, I'm still 18, yeah. I did get a guy from Hendersonville named Bill Ponder, great kid. Still love him today. He still comes and goes with me to all these historic events. He was going to school at the University of North Carolina to be a pharmacist because his dad owned South Center Pharmacy up there in Hendersonville. And we still joke about it today, that when Bill come to help us as my only help, it took him 6 or 8 years to get through pharmacy school because he spent most of his time with us on this race car. Yeah, but yeah, that's great times.
What was that like? What was Cecil like?
Great guy, hard worker. As you probably, everybody that knows racing knows that when Dale Earnhardt started winning those championships and those cars that he was driving for Richard Childress, those cars were under Cecil Gordon. He was the shop manager there.
Really?
So, yeah. So Cecil Gordon took a job with Richard and Dale. Yeah, great guy. Taught me. I tell everybody that Cecil taught me how to race in the long runs, and Junior Johnson taught me how to win. So, yeah, which we did win a race with Cecil. We ran a independent race with Cecil Gordon. We won it back at Tri-County.
Wow.
Great time, but yeah, we'd been running. We'd finished third in the points and had some great finishes. We finished second at Dover with him. We was running at Dover when the 500. Cecil was short, stocky, and had a short neck, so he could set up in that car and drive the wheels off of it. Bristol, Dover, we was running 500 laps at Dover, and Cecil made it up to second place. And there at the end of the race, Pearson was leading. He had a few laps on us. And word come over the radio that David had a mechanical problem. And I looked behind my pits, and there stands all the Winston RJR guys. It was, all of them were standing there pointing to where Victory Lane was. And I told them all, I still tell them today, that they jinxed me because NASCAR would throw a caution and let Leonard put a shock back on the left front. The shock broke off and it was dangling. It just didn't blow out the tire to cause Pearson to hit the wall. But we finished second. We had a good time. Finished third at Riverside because we figured out how to put a Chrysler transmission behind a Chevrolet. Yeah.
You know, one of the crazy things that I'm thinking about, Mike, just being out here is, you know, nowadays you have these multi-million-dollar shops that are, you know, down in Charlotte. And yet it wasn't that long ago where, you know, some of the biggest races were won out of this little shop out in the country. That is just incredible that y'all did what you did.
It's amazing that we were, you know, back when I started in the 70s, I was Cecil Gordon's only full-time mechanic, only full-time employee. And then we ran 33 races a year with one race car. When Junior hired me, I came here and we was winning 24 races in 2 years with the Mountain Dew car and 2 championships back to back with 27 people.
Dang.
And then I hear these guys all complaining about, oh my gosh, they're working us too hard and all this, and they got 400 people on staff.
Right.
What in the world, you know? Right. Yeah, they don't get any sympathy from Mike Hill. Around 1977, I get a call from my dad telling me he needed me to come back to Spartanburg. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, what's wrong with my dad, you know, because it was just my dad, me and my little brother and my dad. And he said, I need you to build me another race car. I distinctly remember telling him, Dad, you're fixing to waste what little bit of inheritance me and my little brother will ever get on another race car. And he told me, he says, well, I'm going to have one whether or not you come and help me or not. So I went back to Spartanburg and built Dad a another car, and we ran the National Dirt Racing Association with it. They were paying $10,000 to win back in those days. And the second race that we ran in that series, we won at Gaffney with a guy named C.L. Pritchett driving for us. Great guy. Probably the smoothest guy I've ever worked with. I worked with a lot of drivers, a lot of champions over my time. But this guy was like, he was silk when it comes time to drive. And love those days. That the dope dealers and the coal miners decided they would come dirt racing. And I told Dad, I said, we can't run with that kind of money. So I had to go back. Travis Carter was starting a team. He was working for Junior. He's a crew chief with Tim Brewer at the time. And I knew Tim from he was Richard Childress's crew chief. And Travis used to be Benny Parsons' crew chief. They both went to work for Junior. So I heard Travis was leaving Junior to start this Burt Reynolds, Hal Needham, Skull Bandit race team. And I made a special trip to Charlotte to tell Travis that I needed to get back into cup racing because I had a family. My wife, we had our son Shane. And Travis said, I'll get with you. Just give me a couple of weeks, I'll get with you. So I'm sitting at home and the phone rings, and it was Junior Johnson. They was calling me. They were testing at Daytona. Wanted me to come to work for them. You know, didn't take long to figure out that Travis had told Junior he was going to find somebody to replace him, and so put Junior on me. And times were tough, you know, for me and my wife and my son. I was doing whatever I could, welding, jobs, whatever. And I get a call from the most famous team owner at the time, want me to come to work for him. So I never forget, I asked him, because I knew Cale Yarborough was leaving Junior, and I thought that Harry Gant was coming to drive for
What
him.
year would this approximately have been?
1980.
Okay.
79, 80 time frame. And this was definitely 1980 when he had called me. And I never forget, I asked him, I said, okay, who's going to drive your car? He said, Darrell Waltrip's going to drive my car. And you could not have hit me with a sledgehammer any harder to about knock me out. I said, I can't do that. He says, why not? I said, because I've seen Darrell get out of that Dyguard car when I was working for Cecil and just talk down to his guys working on that car, on that race car. And I said, I can't take that. I won't be able to take that. That won't work with me. And the last words was, Mike, you come to work for Junior Johnson and he will shut that boy's mouth. And I think, well, if anybody can do that, it would be Junior. He was a big old guy. And I told my wife, I said, we're going to load up and move to North Wilkesboro. I said, believe me now, because we was living in Spartanburg, and North Wilkesboro, as you can tell, it's back in the woods. I told her it's going to be a living a different life up there. But we've been here ever since 1980. We love it. Yeah. I wouldn't leave it. I never thought about coming back to Spartanburg. There was an old country store. I'll send you a picture. I can give you a picture of it. There's an old country store that's set right there that belonged to Junior. And that's where all, yeah, Junior's. Okay. It was all this was Junior's. And that old country store was where all the moonshiners would hang out.
Really?
Let me tell you, man, they wouldn't talk to you because I had a friend of mine come up to Spartanburg. I lived up there on the hill up there. A friend of mine come up to Spartanburg, and he stopped there at that store and asked for Mike Hill, and they said, we don't know him.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Do you remember the first time you walked in the shop down there across the street?
I sat out in my 72 Chevrolet pickup truck waiting for the guys to get there that morning because I drove up the morning that I was supposed to, really it was 2 days after I was supposed to start because I had it's Christmas and all that and going on. Left my wife in Spartanburg with the baby. I bought me a pickup truck the night before in the dark to come up here. And the first time I got to see my truck is when I got out of it down there at those race shops and walked around it. Lord gosh, I wished I'd have kept that truck. It has some memories. Yeah, I walked in that shop. It was tough. It was really tough. Tim and I, because he had been Richard Childress's crew chief whenever I was Cecil Gordon's crew chief. And so all the independents basically every week had their own race. You had the 5 factory teams. You had Junior, Petty's, Harry Hyde, Bud Moore, those guys would show up and we couldn't race with that money because they had more money than we did. And they didn't really have to finish the race. We did. We had to finish the race to get money to be able to continue on. There wasn't no big sponsorship money back then. Back in those days, we would go to the racetrack with a blank quarter panel. And if someone come in with a heating and air conditioning company that wanted their name on a car, there'd be a sign painter in the garage area that would paint their name on the side of it. And we would get anywhere from $900 to $1,500 for their name to be on the quarter panel. Now, as soon as the race was over, DuPont had this stuff called grease and wax remover, and I would wet that paint down pretty quick so I could just wipe it all off before the next race.
Wow.
I want to show you something really unique. So when Warner Hogden came in and he built all of this, right across the road here, he built a helicopter pad.
So this sidewalk would have been leading to the helicopter pad?
That's it.
Dang.
There's a helicopter pad there. So I keep all this mowed over there.
Right.
These guys that own this keep all this mowed. And I like to keep it mowed just because I want to keep it looking good.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, if they want to come down and see me, I've got the helicopter pad mowed so you can still land there. I may have to look for a tree limb hanging out.
Right. Dang.
We cut the body off the Monte Carlo to hang a Laguna body on the month of December, because the last race of the year was at Ontario in November. The first race of the year back in those days was January at Riverside. And it was just me and Cecil. So we had the month of December to cut the body off of the Monte Carlo. And we went to Baltimore with a box truck and picked up, GM gave us the Laguna. It hadn't been introduced out on the public yet, but we had to keep it in a box truck so nobody could see what the race car was going to be. We hung that body, that Laguna body, and I got it all done. We took it to Riverside, California, and I'll never forget, I'm sitting up on the workbench, and here comes Junior Johnson, one of my heroes. He walked around that car, and I expected him to walk up and tell me what a good job I did hanging that body on that car. And he walked up to me, he says, "Boy, why'd you bring this car out here and show it to all these Ford guys before we get them to Daytona?" And I told him, I said, "Mr. Johnson, I've only got one car, and it's only me and Cecil working on it. And I don't have enough time, or would not have enough time, to cut the body off the Monte Carlo from Riverside to 2 weeks later to when we were supposed to be in Daytona." I said I couldn't make it. And he just shrugged and walked off. I'll never forget that. He couldn't answer. He didn't have a comeback for that, because he knew I was doing all I could do to keep my head above water. But we raced that Laguna. That was a great race car. We got factory backing out of a little bit of factory backing out of it, because at that time the small blocks were coming in and they were phasing out the big blocks. The old reliable 427s that we were running, that we could run 3 races before we would take them, and Ben Barnes would rebuild them for us up in Asheville. The small blocks were coming in, and no one except Junior Johnson could keep one of those things together as a Chevrolet. Bud could keep his together because he had already started it. Bud Moore could keep his Ford together, but no one could keep the Chevrolets together. They were exploding to the point of, if you was standing on pit road you had to be aware because those cars would blow up and send rods and pistons and crankshafts and everything scattering everywhere. Down in Atlanta, they just had that old Armco barrier there, and they had a hole underneath of it, about 6 inches underneath it, and there would be engine parts come down on pit road, and you had to be really careful not to get hit. And they would come out there, and some of those inspectors back in the day, they weren't hired; they were just there to help. Would walk over to pick up one of those pieces, and then everybody on pit road would be screaming at them, "Don't touch it," because they didn't realize how hot it was. They'd get burnt. But yeah, we ended up being a guinea pig for GM because GM was trying to keep a small block together as hard as everybody else, and Junior wasn't telling them what he was doing. It wasn't until I come to work for Junior Johnson that I ever found out how he was keeping all those small block engines together. And we were the guinea pig at Cecil's. We were getting McLaren engines flown into us in a box that cost more than what we were paying for our engines. It was crazy.
No way.
Yeah, this thing. And I remember laughing, telling my guys, I said, y'all need to get back because I'm fixing to pull the pin on this hand grenade. And we would blow them all to pieces, have to gather up all the parts, send them back to Chevrolet. But they couldn't keep the rods in them. And Carrillo was the aftermarket builder of the rods, and they couldn't stand the RPMs that we needed to run the Carrillo rods. They would break. It wasn't until I come to work for Junior that I found out that he was having his own blanks machined from the 427 Chevrolet engines, and that's how he was making them work. And we was twisting the heck out of them. Junior Johnson, his first trip to me while I was working on his race cars there, he walked up to me. He says, "Boy," he said, "I need to tell you something." He says, "When you put something on my race cars, you need to make sure it's good and tight, because you're going to find out I twist the hell out of my engines." And that's exactly what they were doing. They had come up with Bill Allman and Junior had come up with a way to put a rev kit in these engines to where they could turn the engines up. The RPMs was way up. And we had those 180-degree headers that was basically keeping everybody else from knowing that we was turning 1,000 more RPMs than anybody out there. And we was winning races. We won 12 races in 1981 in the championship. Backed it up in 1982. We won 12 more. Those engines were, man, they were good back in the day. Junior got to be real good friends with the guys that flew the SR-71 Blackbirds. One day, we was over in the shop and we hear this helicopter, and I'm thinking, good gosh, Warner has got a big helicopter to make that kind of noise. And I look out, and it's a great big giant helicopter with the twin props on it.
Right.
And it landed in that field right there.
Right out here.
With all the SR-71 pilots on the helicopter, and they walked across and presented Junior that was Junior's office right there to the left.
Yep. They
presented him with a photo of them all autographed that he hung up in the SR-71 pilot.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, but that doggone helicopter couldn't land on. It couldn't land on that little pad. It had to land. It had to land out there in the field. Yeah.
Man.
Junior, well, Darrell came, and I was always expecting it. But heck, man, we won 12 races his first year there. There wasn't anything for him to get out of the car and complain about. He never said a word to me. As a matter of fact, he was really good to me because he found out that I had a source for the brake pads that would last, and I bought them all up. Junior, that was the one thing about working for Junior. If I went to him and told him, "Hey, Junior, there's going to be a shortage. They're not going to make them anymore," he would look back at me and he'd say, "Buy them all." So I would put the word out that I was buying every Hurst Earhart brake pad that they was. And so I did. I had them. Nobody else could get them because they quit making them. They had asbestos in them. And Daryl would come in the shop. I kept all those brake pads in a big drawer, pull-out drawer. How many sets was there? You know, because you ran them at Martinsville, places where you had to have brakes. He would always pull that drawer out and count those brake pads to see if I was giving Neil Bonnet any of them. Wasn't giving them anything.
Wow.
We was keeping them all for ourselves.
So this is the McDonald's shop that Jimmy Spencer's car would have come out of, right?
That's it right here.
Okay.
Yes. When Warner bought half of Junior's, and he told Junior he wanted to come in and build all these shops up over here, Junior told Warner that you can't mess with this garden spot right here, so that's why you see it's lower.
Right.
This is all built up here. This land we're driving on right here was as low as that garden.
Really?
Sure was.
So these shops here are all Warner Hodgson built.
Yeah, except for this one,
Except for this
big one, because Warner wasn't here in '94. He had to leave.
Right.
But this was the first shop that Warner built here on the right. He built it for
this one.
Yes, he built it for the number 12 Budweiser car.
Okay. Dang. And so it was all just regular garage stalls like it is now, right?
Yeah, it's open inside there.
Really?
From door to door. You could walk between there. Yeah.
That is incredible. Man. So when you were employed by Junior, were you mainly, when you were on this property, were you mainly in the big building, or did you ever come over here a lot?
Oh, I came over here because the main shops over there, he turned into a fab shop, building, hanging sheet metal and stuff on. So I moved over here when after Warner left, and we had the Budweiser car in here along with the Maxwell House car when Sterling came. So the 11 car and the 22 car was in there.
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I say, the big building behind us back there was built from McDonald's because McDonald's couldn't be in the same shop with a beer car.
Right.
And this was the body shop.
Okay. Dang. I'm going to get in trouble with asking this question, but who had their cars in here the most?
In the body shop?
Yeah.
Well, you know Spencer, but most of the Spencers were up there in the pasture behind my house. They'd get wrecked so hard you couldn't use them because the roll cage would be compromised, and I wasn't going to have a driver getting hurt in one of my cars, so I just threw the whole car away. Yep.
So talk to me a bit more about the junior years during the 80s. What was that like? Obviously you had Daryl coming in there, and Neil Bonnet was there, and then later Terry Labonte was coming in there.
Sure, yeah. We won the championships in 1981, 1982, 1983. We're driving up the hill to Riverside, and Junior turns in the car to the crew, and he says, "Boys, I need to tell y'all something." He said, "I'm selling half the race team." And everybody in there about fell out of the car. He said, "I'm selling half the race team to Warner Hogden." Of course, we all knew Warner because he said, and I'm thinking, this is not going to be good. It ended up being the best thing that ever happened to Junior Johnson and Associates. Because Warner come in, built Neil a brand new shop. He did all the things right. Warner did. It was a shame to see that man go for things that really he didn't have control over. It was the people working for him out there. He was a construction guy out in California, made buku-doodles of money building the city of industry out in California. Great guy. But yeah, that was the 80s. Lord, we come back. Daryl got his bell rung in 1983 so bad at Daytona.
On the line, and here's one car trying to get in front of him. Oh, in trouble. That's Darrell Waltrip. It is Waltrip. Out of control. He slams the wall. He's going to get caution. He almost nails Yarborough. I don't understand understand. He may have been trying to make up a lap.
I think he was trying to make
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Honest to gosh, and I tell people this and they don't believe me, but it's the truth, people. We go to Richmond the next week and we have a rear end pump. The impeller goes out of it. It was a rubber impeller, and you have to get in the car to change the impeller. And I'm in the car changing the rubber impeller on this rear end pump, and Darrell looks right straight at me and asks me, "What racetrack are we at?" He can still drive. He just didn't know where he was at. And it went on for about 3 or 4 months there until he got his bearings back underneath him. And you know, we had an off year, 84. Then we come back and won the championship in 85. We you know, and I need to clarify one thing to the people right now. Not once did Junior Johnson ever come in that race shop and tell us to back off from helping Darrell win the championship, ever. Somehow or another, Darrell's got it in his brain that, or somebody's told him a lie, that Junior told them to not work on the car because Junior didn't want to see Darrell win another championship. People, I'm going to tell y'all something. Junior Johnson loved money way too much to give away a championship, and Mike Hill was not going to work on a car to give it away.
You're talking about 85, right?
85. Well, in 86 or 85. No, we won it in 85. So this would have been 86. And Darrell's thinking that Junior come in and told everybody for some reason that Junior come in and told us, "Hey, Darrell's leaving. You don't want him to leave us being a champion, do you?" That didn't happen, people. That did not happen. Junior Johnson would not come to me or anybody. I was the car chief on the car. There was no way that happened. It's a lie. I don't know why that rumor ever got started, but they said it. Well, he said it on Dale Jr.'s podcast. Well, that still don't make it true, you know. Yeah. Terry came. The big deal was that people, they're finding out now because Junior did a podcast with somebody that I didn't know about, but I was telling everybody that the reason that Junior didn't step up and match the money that Rick Hendrick was going to pay Darrell to leave is we got Dale Earnhardt coming. Dale Earnhardt was coming to drive for Junior in 1987 whenever Darrell's contract was out. And people said, "No, that's not true." Well, I know it's true because Dale was coming up every week to go coon hunting with me and Junior and Phillip and the International Scout. And that's all they talked about was how things was going to go when Dale got into driving for us. Now, where the monkey wrench went into the whole deal is when Dale wrecked us at Richmond.
Darrell Waltrip's alongside of him.
There's the hook. Bang.
Earnhardt came down, caught the right rear of Darrell.
And it made Budweiser mad. Junior called me up. I had to go out to that front office out there. One of the maybe 2 times that I ever got called to the office. He said, Junior said, "I need you to sit down." I'm thinking, well, this is bad. You know, you sold the race team again or something. He said, "I just got off the phone with Anheuser-Busch from St. Louis." And I said, "What is it?" He said, "They told me we can't have Dale Earnhardt for a driver." I said, "Why?" He said, "They told me he was too controversial of a driver for them to sponsor." I said, "Wow. Who are we going to get? Who they want?" He said, "They're good. They want Terry Labonte." I said, "Okay, fine. That's good. I'm good with Terry." So we got Terry in there, and then Junior found out that Chevrolet was basically screwing him over, letting Rick Hendrick see everything we were doing to our cylinder heads. Junior and Bill Allman would port a set of cylinder heads. We'd go test them. And if they were great, because Junior didn't have the CNC and all that blueprint and all that stuff to do an exact copy of that cylinder head, he would send it to GM, and they had all the equipment. So Junior sent his best cylinder heads off to Detroit and gets to looking for them after they're supposed to have been sent back, gets to looking for them. They can't find them. Junior gets a phone call from Hendrick. One of the guys that used to work for us went to work for Rick, working in the parts house down there, parts room. Says, Junior, you looking for a set of cylinder heads? He said, yeah. He said, we got them.
Jeez. Oh my gosh.
Guess what happened the next day? Edsel Ford comes to Eagle Hollow. Edsel Ford himself
Right here.
makes a special trip into Eagle Hollow. And by gosh, we went from GM to Ford then. Junior wasn't going to have any part of what they did, what GM did to him.
So
Terry got caught up in it, and I tell everybody, Terry got caught up in the transition. You can imagine how it would take. It would be like starting up again, you know. You go from Chevrolet to you go to Ford. We had to do a lot of testing, a lot of deals, a lot of stuff, because back then it ain't like it is today where you only got 3 engine builders. Every Cup team had their own engine shop. So nobody was going to tell us what was the best thing for a Ford. So we had to do our own. We had to do our own research and development and testing and all that stuff on the Fords back in those days. And Terry got caught right in the middle of it. I hated it for him. I love the guy. One of the best guys I've ever worked with. Go fishing with you. He found out we was at Talladega, and we found out this great lake we can go fishing, catch largemouth bass. And Terry found out where we was going. He said, I'm going with you. He'd be out in a flat bottom boat drinking beer with us, catching fish. So these are the Junior's dog lots.
Right here.
Yep, and he had the best coon dogs probably in the United States. I'm telling you. He had a guy named Philip Purdue, who just passed away not long ago, who came and ran his dogs for him 7 nights a week and kept them tuned up. His best female dog he put on the King Air and had her flown to Indiana or Illinois and had her bred to the world champion up there. And the puppies that she had, she started having them during a cold spell, and it was ice and snow, but they sat right outside of that building up there, and I kept an eye on her because I was going coon hunting with Junior and Phil.
Right. Dang.
And she started having these puppies. I came in, I saw 14 puppies in that box, and I called Junior up. There's Junior's house up there.
This house right
Yeah,
here.
that's
Okay.
Junior's house.
Dang.
I'm not going to go across this bridge because I don't know these people.
No worries.
But this is the bridge. I was working in this building over here, looking out at all the construction that was going on. The construction guy come in, and I said, "Man, that is one heck of a bridge y'all putting up there." He said, "Mike, you can drive that tractor and trailer truck across that bridge right there.
Dang.
That's how strong it is."
Did y'all do that a lot, or did it stay down here?
The ones that was hauling the 11 car stayed up there until we
there.
moved the 11 car down here.
Okay. Dang.
And he said, guess how much that bridge cost? Now Warner's paying for it. That's how much? He said $90,000. And at that time, it was 84. $90,000 was a lot of money.
Right.
And then he really blew my mind. He said, "You see those big rocks down there lining that creek?
Yeah.
Up and down that creek?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's $60,000 worth of rock."
Oh my goodness.
just to keep the creek from washing the banks away.
Man.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the Ford years after Ford came on board.
Yeah, we got going pretty good there. We won a few with Jeff Bodine. When Terry left, Jeff Bodine came in. We won a few, but not quite like what Junior wanted. We was winning randomly with Jeff. Then Bill Elliott. Junior comes to me, he says, "We got Bill Elliott." And you could see my face light up. Oh my gosh, we got Bill. Started out at Daytona, sat on the pole, the outside pole of Junior Johnson's cars, and took off. And we was leading the race down there, and our teammate Sterling was behind us, and him and Ernie got into it and took us out, took out both doggone cars. So we was leading the race, the Daytona 500, 95 laps into the race, got took out, went from there to winning the next 4 races in a row in a dominant fashion. I mean, just like, I'm thinking, yeah, buddy, this is us. This is the way we supposed to be going. And something happened in our doggone engine room. They decided to change head gaskets, or I don't know exactly what happened, but it didn't last long till we started having problems. We ended up winning, I don't know, we ended up winning 5 or 6 races with Bill. Went down to that last race in 92. We should have won the championship with him, but we just wasn't paying attention how many laps that Bill had led versus how many Alan had led. I mean, I'm standing there trying to get somebody to tell me how many laps we had led versus how many Alan had led, and it's like nobody wanted me to know, because it's like everybody wanted Alan to win the championship, not on our team, but as far as anybody else that would be keeping laps that day. Yeah, I remember it well. Kind of bitter, you know. That's when Tim and Junior about went to blows on pit road, because the Anheuser-Busch people come in wanting to celebrate the championship before the race was over, which was a taboo. You just don't do that. And you can go back. I watched the Bobby Allison's crew put their van with Miller beer and everything in Victory Lane down there one time, and the car blew up, and they had to get it all out of the Victory Lane so we could move our car in there. But you don't celebrate a fat lady hadn't sang yet, you know what I'm saying? You couldn't go celebrate. So Tim got mad at the Budweiser people, and Junior ended up getting mad at Tim, and then both of them got really mad at each other. I'm down, you know, I'm changing rear tires, so I'm on this end. Kind of caught my eye what was going on back there, and I'm thinking, this is not good. So nobody would talk to Bill to tell him, hey, Bill, you need to lead one more lap. Well, Bill's sitting there thinking, I got this. I'm just going to sit here and save my car, jump out and lead the last lap, win the race. Well, that's exactly what he did, but nobody had told him that we needed to lead one more lap, and that's all it would have took for us to win the championship. We lost that 1992 championship by not leading one more lap at Atlanta. And Bill Elliott got so mad because he said to me, Mike, I could have led in that Southern Georgia drawl he's got. I could have led every lap. I was just saving the car, but nobody told him. It's still bitter today with me. Probably one of the most bitter things I've ever suffered in racing is losing that championship. After going through what we did, was trying to save that engine at Phoenix. That, oh man, I was pulling plug wires, pulling the rockers off, trying to make it run on 7. Then I went down trying to make it run on 6. We kept on stuffing rags. I mean, it looked like a war zone in our pits, trying to keep this thing alive. There is the original shops.
Right.
The upper end up there was the engine room and the head rooms, and we put the machine shops up there. The lower end down here was where we put the cars together.
Right.
In the middle we had like an R&D room that we
Right.
built. We built cars for research and development. But Junior and Flossie, that's
That
their
was
house right there.
right up there.
Yeah.
Man. What was this little building down here?
We built it for a gear room.
Your room? Okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's where Bob Labonte worked. Terry
Oh,
Labonte's
wow.
Terry Labonte's dad worked out of that place
Dang.
and built gears when Terry was driving for us.
Really? Wow. That little tiny shop. Man.
Mm-hmm. What y'all had was 9-inch Ford gears and transmissions
Right.
in there, you know. And
Right.
like a whole lot. But
Dang. So it wasn't that much longer later that you were a crew chief and Jimmy Spencer came in. Is that right?
yeah, Junior, after the 92 deal, of course, Tim wasn't there anymore. And I expected Junior to walk in the shop like he did in 1980, at the end of 81, when Tim left on his own, Junior walked up to me and said, "I need you to be the crew chief on the Mountain Dew car because you got all the setup sheets." And you know, he knew me and Tim was friends, and Tim left for more money to go to work for MC Anderson, which I don't blame him for that. But I told Junior, I said, I can do it, but I don't know that I can massage Daryl. He said, "We'll let Jeff massage Daryl. You and Jeff will be co-crew chiefs." Well, then Doug Richard came in to be our front tire changer, and we just decided, okay, Doug, you can come in too. And we was all three basically the crew chief. Jeff takes all the credit for it, but he didn't do all the work. Yeah, we had it going on. You see that little house there?
This
That
guy
was that
right
little
here.
guy right there.
Yeah.
That was where Junior hung those hams up because he had a hog lot down here that Warner was forbidding the touching.
Really?
Too. And Junior he would grow big old hogs.
Dang.
And it was funny because the coldest day of winter, oh man, it'd be the coldest day of winter.
Wow.
That's when Junior would kill hogs. And he would come through the shops, getting anybody that was standing around to come and help him kill hogs. And we would kill hogs down here right across the deal there and
Dang.
cut up hogs. I've been cutting up hogs with my grandpa's aunts and uncles back in the day down in Cherokee Springs, South Carolina, so it wasn't no big deal for me. I just come on down here. Ended up buying me a special knife to help cut the hogs up.
Right, man.
The truth is being told, people. I've been sitting back, keeping my mouth shut all this time about all the stuff that went on. And this is the truth. We shouldn't have lost that championship in 92. We gave it away. I mean, as good as Allen loved Allen to death, he didn't win it as much as we gave it to him. That was. Then after that, Junior, well, I know where we're at now. Junior come in the shop, and I expected him to tell me, you know, Tim's gone, you be Bill's crew chief. He come in there and told me, no, he says, Mike Beam's going to be the crew chief. And I said, well, I'm sorry, Junior. I can't go down that road. He says, well, don't leave me. He says, take over the McDonald's car. You be the crew chief for the McDonald's car for Hut Strickland.
Which is a new car, right? Because Maxwell House went away, right?
Maxwell House was gone, yeah. Basically, Junior got more money. You know, at that time, you could supposedly only have 2 cars. One owner could only have 2 cars. So Junior had the Maxwell House deal with Sterling, and then here comes McDonald's wanting in, and Junior didn't have any room from McDonald's and Maxwell House, but McDonald's money was big, so he gave Maxwell House to Bill Davis. Bill Davis, a great guy. Rest in peace, Bill. He was a great guy. Junior gave him the Maxwell House sponsorship, and we had McDonald's. We had the 2 top sponsors in NASCAR, McDonald's and Budweiser. So I took on the McDonald's car in 93. And then the end of 93, I have Jeff Burton calling me here at my house every day, every night. My wife was handing me the phone. You know who it is. Burton saying, you need to put me in your car. I said, yes, I do. I'd go to Junior and I'd tell Junior, I got Jeff Burton. We need to put him in the car. We'd already put him in as a relief driver at Loudon for Hut, and Jeff Burton got out there and passed Dale Earnhardt. He passed Rusty Wallace. He passed everybody until he got to that 24 car. And once he got up on Jeff Gordon's back bumper, you could see that all he wanted to do was antagonize Jeff Gordon. And I called the radio. Our radios were scrambled back in so nobody could hear. I come on the radio and I said, I don't think Jeff likes Jeff. But yeah, and this, after that race, he started calling me wanting to ride. And I'm trying my best to get Junior to let me hire him. Famous words out of Junior Johnson's mouth. I'm not going to hire that rookie and have him tearing up my race cars. I'm going to hire Jimmy Spencer. And I said, well, I think Spencer will do a good job of that for you. So every time we wrecked one with Spencer, I'd take a picture of it before I put it up here in the pasture, buried it, and put it up on the wall down there so Junior Johnson could see what a great job Spencer was doing of tearing up his race cars for him. We did win 2 races, but it was the 2 tracks where it was, you pull down past somebody, stay between the white lines. And
So when these shops were all operational, were y'all putting cars out in the driveway here, or did they mainly just stay in the?
they stayed inside.
Inside. Okay.
Yeah. We had enough room in there.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of times they were keeping some of the overrun cars up in the upper shop up there for these guys. But I could keep all the well, what few McDonald's cars that Jimmy wasn't crashing, we could keep them in there.
Man, Jimmy, if you see this, I'm sorry.
I'll tell you the truth, Jimmy.
Yeah, man. And so, what was this gray building up here again?
That was the parts room, and it was here from the very get-go. This is where Francis Allen back in the day ran the parts business for Junior Johnson Associates. Junior was selling parts.
Right.
And he would take a truck to Daytona for the 500 every year and sell parts. And then the back side of the building is where the customer engines come out of.
Mm-hmm. Who all would have been?
Harry Gant was the major deal. When Travis Carter and Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds started up, they hired Travis. I knew Travis because I'd helped him get Benny Parsons' car back out on the racetrack at Rockingham so they could win the championship there.
Wow.
Tex Powell and Richie Bars and all those guys were in there, and we ended up cutting the roll cage out of Bobby Musgrover's car without asking Bobby. The car was just sitting there in the garage and he needed a right side cage for Benny to get back out on the racetrack. NASCAR would say it was safe, so we just cut Bobby's cage out.
Do you ever know what happened afterward? Did the cage go back in Bobby's car?
No, I think Mr. DeWitt got Bobby another car.
Okay.
Because that was L.G. DeWitt owned that race team at the time. And Mr. DeWitt owned Rockingham. He owned all those peach fields and stuff down there around that deal. And I think Mr. DeWitt made Bobby happy.
Are you comfortable talking about the controversy surrounding those wins?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, hell. And the thing is, everybody, oh, you're cheating. Well, hell, if I'm cheating, what is the 28 car doing? We beat him by 6 inches. Everybody in that garage area that was winning was doing something. We had some NACA If you go back and look at those photos, we had some NACA in the rear windows that slid. The farther you could get them out, the more air they would pull out from underneath your car. Bob Campbell, who was a fabricator for Childress back in the day for Dale Earnhardt, had fixed me a cowl. Oh my gosh. Well, Banjo built me the car. This was the freest rolling car I'd ever worked on. It was a front steer strut car. It basically had the Ford lower control arms with a strut and the steering box set in front of it. And honest to gosh, you could pull this car, park it, if you didn't put it in gear and turn around and look for it, it'd be out in the parking lot. That thing would roll. But anyway, the NACA would pull the air out from underneath the car, and Bob Campbell come up with a deal. I don't know where he got this idea, but the cowl that goes down, that goes there was a distance that you were supposed to hold between the cowling and the air filter. People don't know this. This is first. Campbell had made basically a cowl inside a cowl, and it operated on Zeus fasteners to where you'd act like you was checking the cowl to make sure it was buttoned down, but what you were essentially doing was turning it, and it was a direct hookup. So it was ram air.
So that's the secret.
One of them. We had many, we had many. That car was a great car too, Banjo built us a great car. Bless his. If Banjo Matthews, I don't know if this gets out in time, but everybody listening to this needs to vote for Banjo for the Hall of Fame, because the man should have already been in the Hall of Fame. He did so much. I think in 1978, every car that ran in NASCAR that year was a Banjo car. And he was a genius in my book. He should have already been in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. We're going to go up to Ingle Hollow Road here. You might be able to see it, the backside of the original building here, where Junior had an acceleration dyno, one unheard of at the time. He had two 1,600-pound long, big wheels made out of steel, machined. I think Leo Jackson machined his wheels for him, and I was put at the task of mounting them up on a rear end housing outside of the dyno room. And you might be able to see it. I don't know, it's growing up through a hole here. Yeah, you can see it right there. There's the stand is still out there. Maybe I'll turn around so you can see it better. There's a stand out there. We built this stand out of 6x6 steel tubing. Put this rear end housing up on it. Got those 1,600-pound flywheels. Mounted them up like they're wheels on a car. And they would sit in there and had like a cockpit in there.
Really?
That they'd sit in with the engine all hooked up to a computer. You can see it good right there.
Oh, yeah, so you're talking about this stand
See
way
that
out there.
Yeah, that building right there at the back of that building, that little black thing right there.
Yeah, man.
So we put that together, and I had to put big disc brakes on it, 2 calipers on each wheel in case something happened and they needed to stop it, because if it come loose and come down, all of these cows that was out here grazing would all be hamburger meat. So the guys, when they first started it up, I got up on that hill there where I wouldn't get hit with it, and I stood there. Yeah, I stood there with a radio headset on, and I was talking to the guy running the dyno, so I could tell him that everything looked good from the outside.
Oh my gosh.
When we started that thing up and it started running, so they did acceleration test with it.
So no cows ever became hamburgers?
No, it stayed up. It was still running good. Yeah.
Wow.
And those exhaust pipes out there I was telling you about run up the holler there, and there was no one going to complain about noise around here because most of them were all Johnsons.
Right.
And that was Junior's uncle that lived in this house back behind us back here. Let me see if I can show that to you. Back there. You see it back there?
Oh yeah, this one right here.
Yeah. There's a barn down there that it's down now, but right there on the other side of that shed there, at night when I would come in after racing all night, I'd get in about 2 o'clock in the morning. You could see a little smoke coming out of that barn. I knew exactly what he was doing, because one of my first jobs working for Junior was to build him a 300-gallon liquor still.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And that's another funny story, because I was living across 421, a little wood frame house, and Mr. Johnson came pulling down there in that driveway one day, and he gets out and he's talking real slow. He says, "Mike, can you weld stainless steel? I said, Mr. Johnson, stainless steel is the easiest weld, you can weld. He says, well, I talked to Junior, and Junior said if it's all right with you, I get you to do a little welding for me. And he said, I said, yeah, sure enough. And so what you got? He popped the trunk on his old car and come out with a piece of rolled angle stainless steel that he needed it welded together. I said, yeah. I said, no problem. I said, I can handle that for you. I said, just tomorrow at 5 o'clock, come on down to the shop. That's when I was still working up there behind the house up there. 5 o'clock come, I'm looking for him. Here he comes in, turns up the driveway there with a 1-ton truck, and it's got a 300-gallon liquor still on the back of it.
Jeez.
And he wanted me to weld that ring together and then cut another hole in this tank and weld it into the tank. And then he had another deal he wanted me to do. So I ended up for 3 nights in a row welding from 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And then I'd cover it up so nobody could see what I was doing in the shop here. That was when that fab room I was telling you about, we had the welders and all.
Where did these stills live at?
The one I was showing you back there with that house.
So that house,
That house, there was a little barn outside it. And he wouldn't fire it up until late at night. Yeah.
Was that the only place on this property that?
No, I'd take you up there and show you where Junior's dad lived. That's where Junior's daddy, oh my gosh, he set the world record when he got caught. And Junior was still telling me stories about the federal people coming to the house whenever he got caught. His daddy got caught, and then the same deal. It's where they caught Junior, and they sent him off to federal prison,
right,
for tending his daddy's steel. They didn't catch him in a car.
So you're telling me off camera before we sat down the story of after winning Daytona and the Rolex story.
Yeah, Jimmy Spencer, I hope you listen to this. So after you win, you get in this old Pontiac that NASCAR had at Daytona at the time, and they take you around through the tunnel, back around, and you have to go up in the tower and sit and answer questions to the media. We're in the back seat of this old Pontiac. Jimmy gets in. He's a big boy. His sister, Chrissy, gets in. His daddy gets in. He's another big Spencer. All the Spencers is in the back seat with me and Jimmy. I'm crushed. Jimmy's sitting there beside me, and he's got this green box in his hand. And he opens it up, and there's a Rolex watch for him winning Daytona. And he looks over at me and says, I'm going to buy you one just like it. Jimmy, you lied to me. I still don't have my watch. So, yeah.
But what do you have?
I do have the trophy. The trophy come home on the truck, and it ended up going to the crew. My car chief had it, Donnie Disharoon, great guy. Love him to death. He's like my brother. He's living in Costa Rica now. Before he left to go to Costa Rica, he said, Mike, I got something you need. I said, what is it? He says, that trophy. And so I just laughed. I said, well, yeah, I'll take it. So it's in there. I got the trophy. Wow. I'd gladly trade the trophy, Jimmy, for a Rolex watch, though. Yeah, this is Engle Hollow Road. And basically, about everybody that lived on this road was all kin to each other. They're all right. Johnsons at one time or another.
Yeah. And again, these are the new race shops. They weren't here originally.
No, that was a mule barn. That was Junior's uncle that lived over here on the left over here.
So that barn right out there, that was pretty much where all of Junior's moonshine came from.
No, not where all of it. That's where Junior's uncle's moonshine come from.
Oh, okay.
It was Junior's Now this guy's son built that house, so he was a Johnson.
Okay.
And Junior's brothers lived up here.
So, I don't know, this may be an unfair characterization, but this was kind of a moonshine turned racing empire out here.
Exactly. Yes. This is.
You just can't believe it. It's just, I mean, we're out in the middle of rural North Carolina. And
I'm gonna give you a newspaper clipping of like in 1935 when they raided this house up here, at how many thousands of gallons that they got and how many thousands of pounds of sugar, and it just blows my mind still today that. And this was Junior's dad that we're talking about. Now this was Robert Johnson Sr.
So Junior, when he got arrested by the feds, it was for, you said, tending his father still?
Yeah, he came in. This is the house right here. That white house right there is where Junior was raised, and that's where the Johnson family lived. And I'm going to send you some photos of that house with all the liquor that they caught out in the front yard here. And then Junior was telling me stories about, he was just a little boy and they come and nail planks down from upstairs so they could slide all the liquor down.
Dang. That is incredible.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time up in these hills here. Junior decided he was going to clear off the top of that mountain on the other side there and put a pasture up there. So me and the guys, the race team guys would come up here when Junior seen that any of them was getting a little weak. They would load them up and bring them up here, and they'd pick up rocks on the side. That was our gym.
Man, that is so cool.
This is the place where Junior got caught was right on up this road right here.
Really?
Because there's the stream right up there, a mountain stream up there that they were using in the still. So
the law basically just drove down this road and found him down there.
Yeah, they were waiting on him. They thought they was going to get his daddy. But when he come in, he had made a run hauling liquor, and then when he come in, his daddy woke up and told him to come up, to go out there and get the fire started for him, and then he would get up and tend it. So Junior was going up there basically to get the fire started under the stills, and they were there waiting on him, thinking it was his daddy, but it was Junior. Junior still tells me stories about if he hadn't got caught in that fence, they wouldn't have caught him that night.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about kind of the last years of Junior Johnson, because I know you were there for quite a while as it was starting to wind down the program.
It was tough. You know, I had the McDonald's car out there in that big building I showed you. Junior comes through at the end of 94, and he tells me, he pulls me aside like he'd done in the past when he needed something, to tell me something special. He would pull me aside. He said, "Mike, I need you to do me a favor." I said, "Okay." He said, "I need you to take this car, all this equipment, the truck, everything, the King Air, and get it all out of here." He says, "But I want you to take a few of my loyal employees that's been so loyal to me." He said, "You know what's fixing to happen. Me and Flossie's fixing to get a divorce, and this place is going to blow up down here. And I want to keep you and my guys that's been loyal to me. I want to make sure that y'all are good." So I load up the 27 car.
So it's Eldon Sawyer's car, right?
No, this was before that. Now,
So
I load up the 27 car and I take off to go race for the next year, and I don't have nothing. I don't have a sponsor. I don't have anything. So a guy named John McKenzie, who run the decal place, comes to me. He says, "I think I got you a sponsor." I said, "Okay." He says, "It's Hooters." And I'm thinking, well, that's all right, because they sponsored Alan Kowicki. And I said, "Okay." I keep me going, We get Hooters, and Bob Brooks the owner of Hooters was buying it from L.D. Stewart. I worked more with L.D. Stewart, who was the original founder of Hooters, than I did with Brooks, because L.D. would show up and I'd ask LD, I said, what are you doing? He said, this man hadn't paid me all my money yet, so I think this is my race team until he does. So, great guy. LD, you're out in your boat, out in your yacht out in the ocean somewhere. I know. I hope you're listening to this. I love you, God. And anyway, I'd be underneath the car changing gear, and he'd be the founder of Hooters laying there beside me on the ground, and I was teaching him how to change a gear in a race car. Brooks, to have the sponsor, I had to have Loy Allen, and I couldn't figure this out until I really got to thinking about it, because when Allen got killed, Brooks wanted to take Allen's car over and put Loy in it then. But you remember who was the executor of Allen's racing? Was Felix Sabates. Remember that? Felix told Bob Brooks, no, we're not putting Loy Allen in this car. So Mr. Brooks wanted to prove to Felix that Loy could do the job. And I said, well, I'll try my best. And I tried my best, and I failed. Loy calls me up the night before it's time to go to the doggone race at Bristol. We had been up there testing with him, and he'd spun out a couple of times. Loy called me up and says, I'm not going to drive that car anymore. So we're looking for somebody to drive the car. I'm looking. I go to different drivers, and all of them, the Chevrolet drivers, all saying that Ray Smith was telling me that I come drive your Ford for you. I won't get a Chevrolet deal. So I'm thinking, well, I bumped elbows with Elton Sawyer in the garage whenever he was working for Bill Davis. Good guy. He's won in the Busch Series. I'll call Elton. I called Elton up. They had just run Hickory. Elton says, Mike, yeah. He says, I think, Mike, can you bring that car to Hickory? And I said, yeah, probably can. I'm thinking, man, the Cup car at Hickory is going to be something exciting to watch, because this thing's got, that time we had crazy amount of horsepower. Elton gets in the car and runs about 6 laps, comes in. He said, yeah, I'll drive it. We go to Martinsville with Elton and qualify like 6th. We qualify great. Everything's going good. It's looking up. We have some great races. We're building. Everything's going good. We go to Darlington. Elton, we unload off the truck down there at Darlington for the Cup race, and it looks like we're going to set on the pole with Elton. We had already, I think, set on the outside pole with him at North Wilkesboro. Everything's looking good. He has to leave and go and get in his Busch car because he's still under contract over there. I hear the Busch cars out there running, and all of a sudden it goes quiet. I'm bending down, I'm changing the caster shims in the right front. Guy pats me on the back. I turn around, what? He said, Mike, you see this ambulance coming right here? I said, yeah. He says, got your driver in it. I said, oh, no. Elton had hit the wall in his Busch car. So I go down there to the infield care center, and at that time, there was no protocol for concussions. There was nothing, Elton's sitting up on the gurney. He says, get me out of here. Okay. We start walking back towards the Cup garage, and he's not walking straight. That gets me concerned. I said, Elton, you going to be okay? He said, Mike, I'll be fine. Just get me back in the car. Put him back in the Cup car, and we was about a second off. It took him a while to get back, but before he made it back, the guy that was putting the money behind me at that time decided to make a change, and we put Todd Bodine in the seat. Things just didn't work out. It didn't. I couldn't get, you got to get everything aligned just right when you're doing stuff like that. And I couldn't get it all put together without somebody sticking a fork in it. They were sticking forks in my spokes whenever I'd get it going. But I tried. I don't regret any of it, It's all I could do.
Right.
Junior did all he could do for me. And that was Junior's brother's house there. That was LP. We called him Petey. Now Petey was the one that got Junior started driving, because Junior was down there where I showed you where that garden was at down there. Yeah. He was down there plowing barefooted, and Petey stopped one day and told Junior they was going to have a car race, and he wanted Junior to drive, and told Junior to go get his shoes, because Junior was plowing this mule barefooted, and that was the first car that Junior got to race on a sanctioned event. Was up at Wilkesboro, and it was still dirt.
Man. So it would have been all these fields are basically just Johnson farm fields.
There's all Johnsons in here, yeah. Dang. It's all been, most of them are all passed away now. Another Johnson that lived up there, he passed away.
So after NASCAR, you went sports car racing, is that right?
Yeah, I'd about had my fill of NASCAR, Lord. About all it took was 1 year working for Roush. I had a year left on my contract. I had worked for Dodge as a research and development guy. I was the director of research and development when Casey Kane and all those guys were driving Dodges, and we was winning. It was good. And Dodge sold out to Fiat, and it shut down. And so I said, well, I'm done. So I come home. I'm sitting at home, and that guy that I hired to drive my cup car called me up.
Talking about Elton Sawyer, right?
Elton Sawyer. He was also the guy that called me up and told me he needed me to come down and be the Dodge's director of research and development, because he was going to go do a Bush deal. And so he basically had paid me back twice for me paying him one trying to make it on a cup car. But he called me up. He said, I need you to come to Denver, North Carolina. I said, yes, sir, I'll be there. So I get down there at night, and there's just Elton there and one other crew guy out in the shop working. His name is Brian Hay, one of the best guys I've ever worked with. I look down at the cars, and Elton says, I need you to come in here and work for me. And I said, Elton, I can't do that. He said, why not? I said, that car has got an engine in the trunk, and I've never worked on a race car with an engine in the trunk. And he says, Mike Hill, you're a race car mechanic, and I know damn well you can fix it. Work on it. It ended up being one of the best things I ever done, because it was like going back to the Cup days in the 70s. You didn't have all this pressure. You didn't have all these people pulling on you. You didn't have all these rules and regulations and all this stuff going on. This house that's here on the left right here, this split level right there.
Yeah.
Junior's uncle's son built that house, and he got killed when a dump bed on a dump truck fell on him.
Oh, man.
And so his wife was going to sell that house about the same time that Warner bought into Junior's. And I was talking to her about buying it, and I forgot now what it was. It's like $50,000 that I was going to pay her for the house so I could move my family over and be in a bigger house. Well, Warner came in, found the house was for sale, bought it, and paid her $60,000 for it, and spent another $100,000 on it, remodeling it and putting the bricks and all in it. So I didn't get that house. 24 hours of Daytona. Lord, I'm an old man, and everybody telling me, says, oh, there's kids that was working on the car, said, you ain't gonna last 24 hours, because car cranks up. It don't stop. You keep going 24 hours. I was the only old man there that didn't go to sleep. I was the only guy on the whole crew, basically, that didn't go to sleep.
This is the Action Express team, right?
Yes, it was, yes. We won the 24 a couple of times, and we won about all the endurance races that they had, championships, just back to back to back to back to back. They had an endurance champion where just the endurance cars were in that championship hunt. Then you had the overall championship. It was a great experience. I was loving it until my back, from changing tires all those years, I destroyed my back, and I couldn't go anymore like I was going. And I knew it wouldn't be fair to the team, and the guys, to hand it to Gary Nelson and the guys that was running the deal. They told me, you don't have to do this. You just come in when you want to. And I said, nah, I can't do this to y'all. I mean, this is not fair to the guys that I just come in for 2 hours until my back starts hurting so bad I can't walk. So I had to wait until they took off to the racetrack, and I loaded up my toolbox because it was going to be too tough for me to go around and tell everybody bye. Friend of ours that lived up in Boone that hung around with us, he ended up coming to work for us full time. Yeah. He was a pole climber for a charter cable company, and he brought us an ultralight that he had went up and crawled up the top of a tree and got down out of a tree. Dang. And we hid it over here in the mule barn from Junior. I was going to rebuild it, and we was going to fly that ultralight up out of the holler here. And I knew Pearson, because I grew up with the Pearsons. Right. Pearson had an ultralight. So I said, well, I'll call David up. Told the guys, I said, I'll call David up and I'll ask him some questions about this thing so we can get it going. And David said, what's the name on that thing? He talked, what's the name on that thing? I told him what it was. He says, don't get on that thing. I said, why? He says, there's a reason why it was in that tree. He says, you turn left and it goes left. You turn right and it goes left. He says, there's something messed up with the steering on that thing. And I said, okay. And I hadn't hung up the phone talking to David 10 minutes. Junior comes stomping into the shops, and he walks right straight up to me. He said, you get that thing out of my mule barn, and I better not hear any of y'all talk about putting that thing back together again. David, as soon as he got off the phone with me, called Junior up and told Junior, he says, you better keep that hill boy from making that thing run. He said, you're going to end up losing your crew members. So, yeah, it was funny.
So as we sit here, we just discussed quite a bit of your entire, really your entire career in racing. What, if people were to see this 30, 40, 50 years in the future and learn about who Mike Hill is, what's the one thing you want them to know?
My good friend, Dale Inman, who is Richard Petty's cousin, nephew, that was in racing whenever I come in, and picked on me when I was a little boy in that cup garage when I was 18. Dale Inman's got a saying today that I keep telling people. I use it. I plagiarize him. That it ain't always been this easy. You go back to when cup racing started up, and there was only one guy that was a mechanic, one guy that was a driver. And that was when I started back in the early 70s. And we raced as many races as they're racing now. And we for sure was at the racetracks longer, because some tracks, like at Charlotte, we would be there 4 days. We'd qualify 3 of the 4 days before we get to the race. So, yeah, people need to know that racing didn't get to where it's at with a bunch of people doing what you see them doing today. You got guys back at the shop sitting there with the computers watching everything that a car is doing. You've got a guy sitting inside a race car, inside those race shops, and he's got a simulator of him driving around the racetrack at the same time the driver's doing it, and they're getting feedback from that car on that simulator to feed back to the race team that's on the pit box at the racetrack. And it just blows my mind. Holy cow, people. What have y'all taken simple racing cars to? It's like, it was always, the Joneses, keeping up with the Joneses, or keeping up with the Smiths or whoever, keeping up with the Hendricks, keeping up with whoever. Junior never worried about anybody else as long as we was winning.
So this would have been victory lane from that day, right?
That's from Talladega.
Of Talladega?
Yeah.
You're right.
I think this is Daytona. This is victory lane from Daytona right here, and there's that trophy. It's right there.
Oh my gosh, man.
We ended up running 13,172 miles, 8.789 miles.
Holy cow.
Without losing. We stayed on the lead lap for all those races. We ended up, I don't know, 10 or 12 championships.
So these are all
these are
sports
Rolex.
car. Man.
Yeah, this is the 24 Hours of Daytona, which we give me a little mini trophy of it.
Yeah.
From 2014, 2018.
So this would have been from all your Spencer era here. This seems like it's right across the street, right?
This photo right here is right here in my back pasture.
Really?
It's where I had to store my wrecked cars at.
So those are the ones that didn't leave the body shop. They just
No, they got thrown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. What do you think of racing today?
It's fun watching them. And when I was down there at Action, because the cars that they're racing today basically are independent, four-wheel independent suspension. And we built that first car, they call it the Genesis car, because they knew we could put one together and go test it. We took it down to Charlotte and raced it and run it around down there. It was fun. It's just fun seeing these cars. People, they all fuss about, oh my gosh, they use one lug nut and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, if no one told you that guy running around there was only hitting one lug nut, would you know the difference? Now, the funny thing is, I tell them, I said, heck, they wasn't getting 5 tight. Let's see if they can get one.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you'd like to get out there?
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. It's just that I don't want anybody believing that Darrell Waltrip would really think that Mike Hill would intentionally not work on a car so that he wouldn't win a championship. That's the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. And people will still argue, well, Darrell said it. I said, just because Darrell said it, that don't make it true. Not once did Junior Johnson, ever come to me and say, oh, we don't need to work on the car. We don't need to win this championship. I would have said, you've lost your mind. We're going to win every damn race, and we're going to win every championship that we can. Period. I'm not slacking. We didn't. People don't believe him. He's not telling the truth there. I was in that shop. I was working on that car. That's not true. We would have won every damn championship. If Darrell hadn't got his bell rung in '83, ain't no telling how much we could have won.
Just so people maybe who are younger and never knew the Junior Johnson eras, really, who was Junior and what should we know about him?
Junior Johnson had already won 50 races driving cup cars before he ever become a car owner. I was growing up in Spartanburg listening to these races with my dad. My dad had switched from Ford race cars to Chevrolet race cars. And so here's Junior driving a Chevrolet race car. And my dad was a big fan of Junior's. Junior would be racing. We'd be listening to it on the radio because it sure wasn't on TV back in those days. And Junior would have a 6-lap lead on the field and be pulling away. And I'll never forget my dad saying, Junior, start saving your engine. Nope. He was going to go wide open until it blowed, and it blowed. And Dad would get so mad he'd turn the race off. But yeah, he was a legend back in the day. He was a legend. And then he become a car owner. You know, he had struggling years too. Junior was bona fide. He was a bona fide legend. I told you about him walking around my car out there in Riverside, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to brag on me. And then he kind of fussed at me for bringing a car that he didn't want anybody to see. But yeah, he was definitely a legend in my book.
What was it like working for him? Wonderful.
Oh my gosh. You know, I told you the story about him telling me that put it on there, you make sure it's good and tight. And basically the same deal. He said, you see that phone back there on that workbench back there? I said, yes, sir. He says, if you can go back there and pick that phone up and buy something that makes my car go faster or makes my car better, makes my car last longer, buy it. Do not worry about what it costs. I'm thinking, whoa, you know, this is pretty cool coming from a independent Cecil where I had to keep all the pennies, you know. And he walked out the door. It wasn't 30 seconds. He walked back in the door, and that's when he told me. I'm thinking, well, he's coming to tell me that you got a $25,000 max or something that you can spend or something, some limit about money I can spend. But it wasn't. That was when he told me, when you do pick up that phone and you do buy it and you go to put it on my race car, you make sure it's good and tight because you're going to find out I twist my engines. And then, oh my gosh, in 1982, when I was trying my best to replicate the year that we had in 81, I was burning that candle at both ends. I mean, I don't know how my wife stayed with me. I was probably impossible to live with because I was eat up with making sure that we did not let anybody down. And Junior comes up and he puts his arm around me. He says, Mike, you're going to have to let up. That's what you're talking about. He said, you're driving too hard. He said, you're going to burn yourself out. Because, man, when he told me that, it saved me from burning myself up. That's when I knew I was going to be with Junior until he quit. Because he cared about his people. Most people would just use you and throw you away, but he wasn't that way.